What did you miss out on? Or if you were lucky enough, what did you lock in? Today we're going to be looking at the differences in pricing of houses as well as interest rates to show you how much house you probably could have afforded or how much house you couldn't afford now but were able to lock in just a few years ago. I'm going to provide some examples of houses that are the exact same but have now increased in price so much along with the increase in interest rates that it paints a vastly different story of who is able to live in this type of home just within even 4 years. I literally went to Apple Maps, chose the very first house that I decided to look at, pulled that address, put it into Zillow, and we can see the history for how much it sold for and how much it is worth today. And you can do this yourself. I've done it many times and the story is consistent. Let's take a look at the numbers. Now, for privacy's sake, I am going to blur out the address. However, you're probably going to be able to find it if you want. It's public information anyways. This house is 2,500 square feet. It is estimated to be worth $670,000. Now, even more so, we can actually scroll down here and see that it sold in 2022 for $635,000. So that estimate has to be very accurate, if not very close regardless. Again, it's very easy to actually confirm some of these things when we have the actual numbers in front of us, what it sold for a few years prior, all these things. Now, before we get into the previous selling point, let's go ahead and look at how much this house would probably cost you per month given current interest rates. And those interest rates have come down a little bit in the last few months. It used to be even higher, but we're going to use today's rates. Now, what we're going to use is the average down payment in 2024, which was 13.6%. So that means you would put down $91,000 on this home. 670 minus 91,000 gives us $579,000. That is going to be our loan amount that we need for this home. Let's even assume that you have a pretty decent credit score. We're not going to go bottom of the barrel, but we're also not going to go very top. We're going to go 700 to 719. That puts our interest rate at right about 7%. Your monthly payment on this home is going to be $3,850. That's how much money you're going to have to pay every month. That is not very affordable for most people. That is going to be a problem. Let's go ahead and see what it looked like a few years ago. So, like I said, this is the first house I chose. That's the sale price in 2022. Here we can now see the house sold for $380,000 in 2018. That is the price that it sold at. If you were paying attention at all, you could have refinanced your home for a very low rate during the 2020 period. Let's say they didn't even catch the very bottom, like 2.5%. Let's be generous and give them a 3% interest rate. That's what they've refinanced their home at. And we'll do the same thing and we'll just keep it fair and we'll say they used a similar down payment, so 13.6%. That gives us a number of $51,680. We'll call it 51.5. This means that they would have a loan amount of $328,500. Now, of course, they could have paid it down a little bit more, which would make their monthly payment even cheaper. But again, we're just going to try to keep it pretty general. Now, I don't think you're ready for this one. For the same house 4 years ago in 2020, refinanced at 3%. You could have gotten lower even. They might have paid it off, whatever. But let's say that's what they bought it at. You would have a monthly payment of $1,385. $1,385 for the same house 4 years ago. Are there really any words for that? This is what we're talking about when we say there is a cost of living crisis. I hope that you were able to get a house at that rate. I hope that you were able to get a house at that price. If you were, you might be wondering, well, what would my situation look like now? Well, if you wanted that same house you're in, for this example, you're going to be paying triple the amount per month. It doesn't even necessarily matter that the initial price of the house didn't even double. It's still raised by a ton, which is crazy, but it didn't even double. We're talking about the fact of all these factors together, such as the interest rate as well. It makes things unattainable for most people. Now, a little bit more unfortunate is for people like myself who are either too young to have purchased a house back then, or, you had other things in life. You just didn't get the chance to purchase a house at that time in your life. And now you wish you could buy a house, but you can't because that house is $3,900 a month. And I'm going to assume a lot of us probably would have had no problem paying the $1,400 a month to own an actual house that's yours, that you can customize, put money into, get equity out of, all of these things. That's the story that we missed out on. And that is why people are complaining about things being so unaffordable, especially with regards to housing, and that something has to change. The same house cannot cost 3 times the amount in 4 years. That is absurd, and it's not necessarily to say work harder. Now, I encourage you to check this out for yourself. Crunch some of those numbers. Pick out a few houses in your neighborhood. Of course, there's going to be examples higher than this. There's going to be examples lower of this. But I have done this many times, and I can assure you that this is the general story you're going to see over and over again. But I do think it's at least important to be aware so that you know what has happened in the past, what's happening right now, and maybe what might happen in the future. It is hard to say. The only factor that I truly wonder about is corporations buying up these houses. Will it ever end? Is it ever going to have some sort of regulation to stop everything from becoming that? Who knows? We just have to keep our eyes open. You can always follow me for more news like this, and I will be sure to try to keep you updated. You can follow my TikTok as well. I also post YouTube shorts for a little bit quicker stories as well. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Comment down below. What do you think about this? Have you ever looked into this yourself? Did you manage to purchase a house before all of this? I'd be curious to know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.